Council.
Reporting Town Manager.
Thank you. And then just to get us started, I wanted to just give a little bit of history for anybody who doesn't have that about why we hold this joint meeting. So this really originated through the Charter Commission about 8 years ago. And every year the town council, so we put that into our town charter, that every year the town council, at least once, will invite the school board to a joint meeting to discuss any projects or issues or concerns that impact our community. At the time, there was a lot of things just weren't very, things were disjointed, I should say. And the concern of the Charter Commission was that we wanted the boards to work together. A lot of that was financial, for financial reasons, because we are all operating from one town and one pool of tax resources. So we wanted to make sure that we facilitated that conversation at least annually. And I was at the time a member of that Charter Commission, so I remember those discussions well. The timing of this meeting is always really important, and we have had it at different points in the year. Obviously, you know, we have our elections in March, and at one point I think we wanted to do it shortly after the election. But what we've found is that this time of year tends to work pretty well. As you guys probably are aware, the CIP process just wrapped up. The town council will receive our budget from the town manager in just a couple weeks. And I'm sure that, you know, the SAU and the school board is on a pretty similar schedule. So again, when we start talking about taxes and financial implications to our community, this is pretty good timing. And then with that, I just wanted to mention a couple, I guess, highlights from the, I don't know if that's the right word, from the town council. So we have had a couple changes in our membership that have happened over the last few months since our election in March. So Councillor Casey Finch resigned from the council over the summer because he had to move out of town, and so the council appointed Megan Brayback in August. So it's been a couple months now, or almost 2 months. And then we recently had another vacancy. So we had another Councillor Christian Matthews just recently gave his resignation because he's moving to Vermont. So we found that COVID has affected the council in sort of some interesting ways because it's opened up some opportunities for some of our council members to leave the state. So whether that's good or bad, I don't know. And we are in the process of filling that vacancy. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. And then lastly, I just wanted to really briefly mention one of the functions of the council is, you know, we develop town council goals every year. We do this annually. And I just thought I would let the school board know what some of our goals are so that, because again, I think it helps to just create some understanding of what we're doing and what we want to do in the coming year. So our goals currently that we developed early this summer, late spring, early summer, are economic development. That's always important to the community. And so under that goal, we have, you know, some projects that we're working on, which are to complete the Gateway project, which are the north, south, and west gateways to town. And that's a project that we've been working on that the town manager and the town planner and economic development coordinator have been working on for quite some time. Our waterfront at Shanda Park, there's significant erosion, and that's something that is going to need to be addressed in the in the near future. And then parking. So those items fall under economic development. Our second goal is zoning, and it's to allow for some potential development and some mixed use. And so that's something that we will be focusing on. We had a goal of potentially working with the Arts and Tourism Committee on a tribute to Wentworth Cheswell. Then our fourth goal is to work on an urban compact, which would impact New Hampshire DOT and some of our roadways in the community. And then our fifth goal was to develop an arts and tourism committee. So those were our goals, are our goals, and I just wanted to share those. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them, or other counselors, I'm sure could answer anything that you have.
Can I just ask a question about the gateway? What was that about?
Yeah, so we have 3 gateways to the community, and that's the north gateway, which is the Durham line, and then south, which would be our Stratham line, and west is 152, so out in that area. And so there's some proposals that our economic development coordinator has been working on. I think we're going to see those. We saw a preliminary report several months ago, and they've been
Council will see the presentation
next month. So we'll have more information at that point. And that's going to tie into the zoning questions. And so they had some proposals for how to develop those areas to fit with our community and our goals, and to be cost effective and to hopefully increase the tax base. Or I should say potentially increase the tax base. I don't know if hopefully is the right word. Yeah.
It's really hard to hear you all back here. There's a machine running, and your microphones are just for television. So if someone asks a question, could you repeat it? That would be. Is there a microphone?
Okay.
I can't hear anyone else.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to project. So Mike, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, the board actually coincidentally just met about, a week ago to go over our goals. Those will probably be finalized over the next month. Needless to say, one of our goals has already been achieved in terms of opening the schools successfully, and also planning for potential eventual remote learning if we need to do that, which we have over the past week. And I suspect for the rest of this year, academic year, we'll be chiefly focused on just getting through and making the best experience we can for kids, whatever the situation presents, and that changes day to day. We will have some modest goals, so probably publish those in can you hear me? Okay. We're working on goals. We'll probably publish those in I would say probably within a month, but the board's working through that right now.
Great. And so with that, we've asked the town manager and the superintendent of schools both to give some presentations about for their respective responsibilities. And I don't know if you guys want to flip for it or who wants to go.
Well, the first item, we can just go back to the agenda. And I'm happy to say, the first item of the day is the director, that both boards are going to see a final draft.
Yes.
And the council, obviously, if they're following the meeting, it's just after the deadline for packets this week. We hear it out in agreement, we'll live it, and we're happy to move forward on that. Just for some explanation, one of the things sort of to go into the next day with COVID-19, and one of the reasons why it did take so long was the COVID-19 crisis. Back in March,
No, no.
So we're moving forward with that. Item E is COVID-19 expenses and revenues. Just an update as of today. Town New Market has between 1 and 4 cases of COVID in the community. Those who are not aware of it, we do not report the exact number to the public. It's under form, just for different reasons. For sake of just letting the community know, there are 4 people who actually do know the total number. That's myself, the 2 chiefs, and the health officer. I'm sorry, 5, and also the 1 individual in the police department. That individual also knows the individuals that have that. None of us know who has it for different reasons because individuals have the right to privacy. One reason why we know that is in case we're that our staff can be suited up. So, since March, as of today, we've had 23 cases, which is doing well for the region. We are second to the last. When you look at the percentage of the population infected, we've only had 0.24% of the population infected, where the high ends are Portsmouth with 0.52, Durham, which after, of course, last month, is now at 0.73% of the population infected, and Dover at 0.49% of the population infected. We are continuing monitoring the communities around us. There has been a spike recently in northern Stratford County, Rochester. We don't know if that's an overflow from an outbreak that York County is having in Maine, but we are monitoring that to see what impact we have. We do believe, though, that the mask ordinance has worked. We received more compliments than we did receive complaints by enacting the mask ordinance. And that sunsets on next Wednesday. However, in the town ordinance, next Monday, in the town ordinance, I have the authority to do an emergency order to extend that. I've done that until the next town council meeting, when the council will review that ordinance again. So now for the finances. As the school and the council are aware, we did receive FEMA funds, but that only goes towards our fire and public police departments overtime and the costs that we have. All other funds that we have to use come from the governor's office for Gopher, called the Gopher Fund. We received about $225,000 in that fund. We have not expended all of that, so we're doing well with funds from there. One of the things I keep bringing up with the town council and brought up earlier was when the pandemic hit in March, one of our big concerns was the finances and the financial health of the community. We were concerned that people weren't going to be able to pay their bills, register their cars, really leave their homes to be able to do that either. I can happily say that that nightmare scenario did not come to fruition. They put a lot of emergency orders in place that we were going to be on to change our budget, even though it's already adopted to reflect any changes in the budget. We don't need to do that. The revenues still came in. Taxes are being paid at a level not a bit higher than they had before. Motor vehicle registrations are a little higher than they were before. The only thing that has dropped is building permits, which makes sense because we didn't want to have contractors in their homes at this point in time, but a lot of people did home contracts. My concern, however, is for the budget that we're looking at this year. And the reason why is you've heard the governor's enacted a budget freeze, a budget cut for the state. And whenever there's a budget cut in the state, it trickles down to local government. One of the big things that I don't know if everybody realizes that after property taxes and after motor vehicles, is that we receive a share of the meals tax to help with the operations of the government. This year we're fine because we received the funds the year previous. So last year, everybody went to vacation, everybody went out to eat, yeah, we get the meals tax. This year, at the end of August, at the end of May, after the lockdown went in place, room meals revenue was down 50% over last year. So it was already down. We're still down 20% over where we were last year. That's what we average. So we're expecting at least losing 20% as right now our room meals revenue. So this is going to be a large hit there. The state, what happened, room meals, the reason why we get that is that back in the 60s, when they changed the way we do taxation in New Hampshire, one of the ways they said, okay, you'll get money is through this source tax. And we're supposed to get it's supposed to go 60-40, 60 to the state, 40 to the local government. In all actuality, it's 79-21, so we don't even get what we're supposed to get. So next year, I'm anticipating a loss of revenues there. The next big area we receive is the highway block grant that we get from what we refer to as the gasoline road toll. Which is not the toll, but actually the extra money that you pay on your gas tax. Not many people are driving in the last 6 months. So next year we'll also anticipate losing a good chunk of highway funds. That is earmarked for road projects. So probably next year, until people start traveling again, we will not have as many road projects being done. We'll be receiving revenue from the state. The business and profit and business enterprise taxes, that's down 13.3% from March to August. And right now the state is estimating a budget shortfall of $386 million. So that has to be made up somewhere. And the other big thing is this. When businesses aren't profitable, the value of the buildings change as well. While currently we're in a bull real estate market, and you're hearing all these homes going for crazy quick time on the market, we also saw that in 2006 and 2007 right before the Great Recession. And my concern is that businesses are no longer viable to be in their business, in their buildings, because of the fact they're just not getting the same amount of volume that they're going to be closing. When they close, the property value drops. And if that happens, right now, we're above $1 for every dollar, we $1 million on taxes. If that drops, then the amount we raise for each dollar is going to drive as well. So I'm not saying that for this year, but I'm saying that we should take that into consideration for the coming year. We continue to monitor it. We're hoping that we don't see that. We're hoping that, the second wave doesn't come in October or even November or sometime this fall. But we need to prepare for the worst because of the last 6 months. And that's my COVID finance.
I will open it up for questions first before we move on, if that's okay. Because I see Councilor Dumont.
Counselor Dumont, can you speak in your mic? We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Exactly. So if you want to speak to that.
Mr. Town Manager, was there any data or projections released by the state to the use of data where things might be changing technology?
There is not at this time. They're still trying to determine how to reopen businesses to full capacity. Right now, restaurants can be within the 6 feet. There's still 6 people at a table, but they have to have barriers in between. That's still a difficulty for a lot of restaurants. When they allow restaurants in Stratford, Rockhaven, Hillsborough, Merrimack County, over 9%, you still have to have 6 feet between the tables, so that did absolutely very little for the restaurants to rebound. So that's my biggest concern right now for restaurants and businesses like that. They just haven't been able to get to pivot to be able to put people inside.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm the doom and gloom. I know, I'm the doom and gloom.
Of course, we have SROs that are at our schools, and at the schools frequently.
About COVID. You know, certainly it's impacted all of us in significant ways. And literally everything that we do in our schools has changed. From how we enter the buildings, how we feed lunches to kids, you know, how teachers engage with students. I mean, literally everything that we do. Simple things like, how do we make a copy of something when you can't congregate in a space? How do you enter the buildings, you know, when previously kids would congregate in areas of the building, whether it would be in a gymnasium like this before, a classroom, the cafetorium or the cafeteria, outside on playgrounds, and all of those things are off the table, you know? And so we've really had to completely rethink every aspect of what we do. And significant time and effort has gone on for the last 6 months to try to figure out how to do this. So 81 people in our community, including teachers, support staff, town community members, as well as some of your department chairs or directors. The school board was actively involved, parents, many people came together to try to figure this out. And we have been incredibly blessed because everything that needed to happen in order for us to be able to open schools fell into place for us. It saddens me that those things couldn't come together in other communities, but fortunately we just completed building projects, so the ventilation systems were in place. You know, in terms of the guidelines, you know, we're 300% over what the ventilation guidelines of ASHRAE require for us because our buildings and our systems have been updated. We were able to get all of the PPE. We were able to get shields. We were able to get gowns. We were able to get masks. We have so many masks. I can't even tell you how many masks. We were able to get, you know, all of the gel and all the sanitation products, the ion sanitizers, all of it came through. Gary was out over the weekend before we opened school putting little feet for social distancing outside of our classrooms. Great effort and care went into this plan, and you know, we're just so excited on the school side to be able to have our kids in session. As you know, at the junior senior high school we had to pivot last Monday to remote. And we did because, you know, there's a lot of fragility in the plan that we have. Not because we want it to be that way, but because of the circumstances that we're in. And so we're very, very lean in staffing. And so if we have a certain percentage of people or certain targeted staff members that go out, then we're not able to safely open our schools. And that's what happened in this case. But we do plan on reopening our junior senior high school on Monday. The coast is clear, according to DHHS, who I work with very closely, on any COVID cases that involve students or staff in our schools. So we're really excited to have the kids come back, and we've been able to hire a few more people to make the experience even better when kids return. So that's where we're at. Of course, we've had many expenses related to COVID. We had to have smaller class sizes in order to be able to social distance. We've had to hire staff in all kinds of ways. We've had to hire more teachers. We've had to find spaces for those teachers to teach in. We've had to hire support staff because with students and staff staying in the same space all day and not rotating around, then we had to hire staff to allow them to have a break, to leave their classroom, to just even go to the bathroom or have lunch. So anyone that has heard me speak recently, I say if you have time available during the day, we could certainly use your services, some part-time monitors to relieve teachers so that they can take some much-needed breaks as they need them. So yes, we've incurred expenses. We absolutely have. And there's two sides to that. So there's things that we're doing that we wouldn't ordinarily do, and then there's things that we are not doing that we would do. So as you know, athletics, we are only running moderate to low-risk sports, and that's only at the varsity level. So typically, we would be offering a whole complement of co-curricular programming from middle school all the way up, and we're only able to offer at the varsity level for those two moderate and low-risk sports. So there's expenses that we would otherwise have had that we're not going to have. We put on a hiring freeze just like the town, and we maintained some of those hiring freezes through the summer so that we could gain some savings there that then we could apply against some of the expenses that we're having. Like the town, we have gone after grant money to the extent that it's available to us. We don't get as much as the town gets because we recently were told that schools are not essential, though we are essential workers. And so all the FEMA money that was supposed to be coming our way, that we wrote our grants for, we were told on a Friday, I think it was September the 11th, that FEMA changed, kind of pivoted, we'll say, and determined that schools could not apply for FEMA reimbursements. So fortunately, the town had some capacity in their Gopher funds. They had not used all of that, and Jana Mellon, our business administrator, met with Steve and Bill, and they were able to redo their application to include some of those expenses that we would have had reimbursed under FEMA using the Gopher funds. So we thank you very much for that. Last year, of course, we had some expenses, but we put on the hiring freeze, and anywhere we could, we held back on spending. And as a result of that, we are able to turn back to the town, or the taxpayers, I should say, because it's not just the town, but the taxpayers, $1 million. And that should go at least some way into helping in a stopgap way to close maybe some of those revenue gaps that we might experience in the upcoming year. Now, of course, that's a one-time thing. That's not something that would normally be a year in, year out a give back, but we did our very best knowing that times were going to be tough to be frugal in our spending. We don't know how we're going to land this year in terms of expenses, but like I said, we're looking at what ways are we able to hold back on spending in order to be able to land at the end of the year, neutral if at all possible. And if not, we do have reserves available to us, and we would apply to the state to be able to access those reserves should we wind up in a situation later in the year that we have to access them. So that's where we are at with COVID. And then in terms of CIP, there's nothing new on the horizon for us. The same projects that we brought forward last year are still items that need to be attended to in the upcoming year. So that's my report, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Just to add to that, on the town side, you've done, you've done a lot of like projects for real, really large water infrastructure project. A perfect example is we would have done in much worse condition than we're having now. It was 3 years ago. I remember then we couldn't use water for anything. Basically shut down water. We bring it back to talk about on. Even though it's being upgraded right now, we still have enough water. We're much better off in this round. And we're in the process of doing everything now that we're all water. So our water situation is much better than it was 5-10 years ago. one of the things that we're gonna have to start looking at is the town facility side of it. A lot of them built in the nineties or two thousands. They have usually 20 to 30 year life, something like a public building, but we're just gonna need to start looking to upgrade. And I think the first one that would involve both of us is that at some point in time in the near future, we'll probably have to do a facility study for town hall. See, are we all using the right space the right way? And if there, what else are we going to do? We're all being required to store more records and data, and we have certain secure ways. But the footprint of the building is the footprint of the building. It's not add on in the front, because we don't own the parking lot. We realize that it's only our diocese. We own the footprint in the back. So I think within the next year or two, we should really begin considering having a consultant discuss facilities in that building and other town buildings. We are going to, the interesting is, we have empty space other places, but we just got to see how can we use it to our best benefit. And then just to add one other thing, because you never realize what the issues with the pandemic hit. So the number one thing that we've been dealing with, and the number one thing we're getting phone calls in, and was the headline today and this afternoon was, we will have an announcement very shortly on trick or treat. I spent hours on a webinar on trick or treat today. We're meeting with the emergency management team tomorrow. I know it really impacts the school. And we are trying to figure a way to do it as safe and as normal as possible. And it's one of those things we just never thought about. We have to take consideration Thanksgiving. We have to take into consideration Christmas and what kind of celebrations we're going to have, or all the holidays. But I can tell you, like today, we were in a webinar for 2 hours on trick or treat. So, but we will have a decision shortly.
I would just like to take a moment to kind of add on to what Dr. Given said and just thank the town manager. The town council may not be aware, but we realized in order to be able to open the elementary school, we needed to widen part of the driveway so that we could have traffic continue to flow while people were dropping off the kids. And I contacted the town manager, got in touch with DPW, Rick Molaski. Not a problem at all, helped out immediately. And in fact, we've, and then found out we needed to borrow some traffic cones. So we still have some traffic cones that we borrowed. So just wanted to thank publicly again, the town manager and the town council. Just let you know that it's been great. The assistance was grateful.
I just wanted to kind of just give you some positive feedback from a couple of high school students. They were, in the classroom, and then with the shift about a week and a half ago, I asked them how things were going, and they said it's gone very, very well, the shift to remote. So thank you for all your hard work planning that. It's, from their perspective, it's really good.
And all the work from the community and the staff and everything, all the planning that went in and the continuing planning that has to happen in order to maintain having the schools open. So thank you.
I think we were fortunate to have Susan leading that charge because she did some very strategic things that helped us, having the union involved from the very beginning and different things to get the buy-in, community members, so that when we saw the final plan, everyone could see their piece of the plan in it. And so I just wanted to thank Susan for her leadership in that.
Any other comments or questions? Or seeing none, is there any other business before? Yeah.
Well, I hope we are not in the same situation in January or February. We're going to have to consider where we can or cannot hold deliberative sessions because the town hall auditorium would not be, I don't even know if this building would be size. I'm sorry, deliberative session. We were lucky last year that it hit right after we were done. But other communities had to go through, they didn't have their hometown meetings till June, when they could have it on a football field outside. So I just want to throw that in your minds. Just I think that's one of the things we're going to have to consider in the next coming months and a way we can do this. And I'll, you know, I work in the municipal association all the time, and if I hear anything new there, I'll let everybody know. Sorry, I have to look for those things.
I'm thinking of like a concert, we had overflow in like one building.
Yeah.
The cameras, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
And so with that, let me also mention that we have a very important election coming up on November 3rd. We'll be utilizing the schools as polling places. This building, New America Junior Senior High School, and the elementary school will be, is this Ward 1? Mm-hmm. This is Ward 1, and then the elementary school is Ward 2. And I encourage anyone who might be watching this meeting to find out what ward you are in and to vote early, vote absentee if possible, not just for if you have any concerns about your own health, but also to protect the poll workers and the volunteers who will be staffing both of those locations that day. So and not to mention, we had record turnout for our primary, and I think that statewide, we're certainly expecting record turnout for the general election. So if it is possible for you to vote early and vote absentee, I strongly encourage it.
I would say, Tony, I have done absentee for both, and I will say that's been a seamless process with the town, very prompt and easy to do. So thank you for that.
And Terry Littlefield is
Amazing.
amazing. We're very, very, very lucky to have her. Chris Hawkins is our town moderator. We are very, very lucky to have him. And the entire staff, and the supervisors of the checklist, and Terry's staff, and all of the volunteers, you know, Clay Mitchell and Cliff Chase, and all the people who volunteered at our last election, and I know we'll be volunteering again in November. So,
Tony, can you just tell basically the public how to do the procedure to do a absentee ballot? Just some people might not know.
I will try. I think that the best information that I could give is for people to go to the town website, and all of the information is there.
Okay.
Because it is a process. I don't want to make a mistake and give people the wrong information. I don't have it written out in front of me. But to contact the town clerk's office if you have any questions, they are incredibly responsive. And then again, it is all available on the town website. So that's my best advice, unless Steve had anything else to add.
Call the town clerk's office.
So, well, I guess the lights are going off, so we have to go home. So seeing no other business, I will consider us adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.